get sorted internally. As you all would know, of course, that the State Department went under a reorganization process, and MELI is actually moving out of ECA into another office. We're combining sort of all of the public diplomacy monitoring and evaluation staff in one office. We are still going to be supporting ECA, still going to be working on mode and everything, so you shouldn't notice a change, but for us, there's a big change, and so we just decided to put the community of practice on hiatus for a bit until we had a little more clarity on our new roles. So in addition to working on mode and all of the supporting all of the ECA work that we already do, what else we're going to be taking on. So we hope that maybe at the beginning of the new year, who knows, we'll be able to start a more regular cadence with the COP as we had before. But in the meantime, of course, it's everybody's favorite time of year. Not the end of the fiscal year. We know that's stressful, but it's mode reporting time, which we're gonna talk about, of course, and as well as some of the updates to mode that we've been working on over the past several months. But before that, I just wanted to mention that we have seen over the past a couple months, an uptick in requests for data, and with the mode participant data having started coming in October of 22, and we've now conducted the alumni survey. We did a pilot last year, and then we did the full, survey back in spring for at 1, 3, 5, and 10 years post-program, and surveyed those alumni. We have a lot of data that we're looking to analyze and doing our best to share with you all as well. But internally, we've been using that data quite a bit. We have an internal document we provided to senior leadership on, how ECA programs are meeting administration priorities for the safer, stronger, more prosperous. In the FY27 Bureau resource request, there was a request for data, and of course we had already put in, a lot of information on administration priorities and how using data to demonstrate how we are working towards meeting those priorities, or how our programs already do so, as well as, there are some requests recently for requests for information from OMB as well, and have used a lot of mode data for that. So I know that sometimes the reporting just seems like an extra thing to do, but it is really helping us tell the story of our programs, and we appreciate all of the work that you all are doing to collect the information on our behalf, so that we can use that to demonstrate what we are achieving with our program. So thank you so much. I will hand it over to Nicole Hallett as our maestro for this community of practice, and yeah, we appreciate all you do. Thank you so much. Over to you, Squared.
All right. My mic is being funny. Can everybody hear me? If someone could just throw a
We
thumbs
can.
up.
We're good.
Awesome. All righty. Let me go ahead and start sharing the presentation. And Natalie, I love how you are just clinging to summer with your beach background, and I'm here with my beautiful fall trees, embracing the fall. All right, so can everybody see my presentation screen? Blue screen?
Yes.
Great, okay. So as Natalie said, welcome. Thank you all for joining us for the September 2025 reporting guidance presentation. Before we get into sort of the usual reporting content, I'm going to review, as Natalie mentioned, some of the updates that we made to mode in our release 2.3 release earlier this year. And then we'll get into sort of the reporting specific stuff. I also want to bring to your attention that a few of the slides feature QR codes and URLs. They should be clickable on your screen, and you can use those to access the various resources that we've made available to all of you to sort of guide you through this process. If you have any questions as we're going through, I would ask that you please throw those in the chat or hold them until the Q&A at the end, and then we can discuss them as well all together. But for now, if you put anything in the chat, hopefully some of my MELI colleagues will be able to answer those for you. All right, so those of you who joined us for our April presentation this past April may recognize some of this content. This is not anything new and anything major since then, but I just wanted to reiterate this for those of you who may not have been present in April. So we made some updates to the mode framework indicators and data collection questions as part of our annual review cycle. And these are normally just sort of minor copy edit type changes, but due to the administration's executive orders earlier this year, we had to make some additional changes just to remain in compliance with that. All of our resources have been updated to reflect all of these changes, and we've published release notes on our website. So you can see the link there, and I believe Stacy just put that in the chat for you all. So while there were changes to some indicators and questions for alumni and host community members, we primarily want to discuss the changes to the participant indicators that will affect our implementing partners. So in response to Executive Orders 14151, ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs and preferencing, and 14168, defending women from gender ideology extremism and restoring biological truth to the federal government, we've had to make some of these changes that you can see here on the slide. We have removed the gender demographic question and replaced that with a sex classification demographic question. We've removed the religious and ethnic diversity statement from these three indicators that you can see here. And we've also removed indicator E6.1.02 regarding the number of participants from or placed at a minority serving institution. So what does this mean for our implementing partners? The most important thing you can do, and this has always been the most important thing, but it continues, is to make sure that you're using the latest mode resources. This includes the indicator book, checklists, resource guides, everything that we publish and that we keep up to date with these changes, just to ensure that your surveys and any documentation you're using are consistent with the changes that we have made. If you are among the implementing partners who have been using our mode survey builder for your surveys, and if you did not already do this in April or since then, you will need to close your current surveys and create a new one using the same procedure that you used previously, going through all the steps of the builder, just for future survey collection. This way, you know that you will have all of the most up-to-date current versions of the questions for your survey participants. Okay, so those are kind of the big things, and some of this you'll see will be sort of sprinkled throughout as we discuss changes with reporting and how you can go about implementing that. So before we get started, I know everyone loves this kind of stuff. I'd love to do a quick temperature check. So as Natalie said, this is everyone's favorite time of year. I know we all love reporting. So I would love to see using just emoji in the chat or reactions up on the screen. Let us know how you're feeling about your readiness for this upcoming reporting period. I'll give you a couple seconds to throw those up there. All right, seeing some thumbs up. That's good. All right. Very cool. Okay, so I didn't see anybody with a panicky face. So I'm going to assume that hopefully we've been doing our jobs well throughout, and you all have been able to keep up with all the responsibilities that we've thrown at you. Hopefully, whether you needed it or not, this presentation will help you and continue to guide you. Okay. So here's what we're going to talk about today. We will go through reporting requirements and then get into the technical guidance by exploring some of the common issues that we see during the reporting process. We'll also be addressing any effects that the executive orders that we mentioned earlier will have on reporting. So before we begin, let's review some key vocabulary so we're all on the same page. My mode veterans out there, you can kind of zone out for a second while we get all this out of the way. But for those of us who may be a little bit newer to mode, mode stands for Monitoring Data for ECA, and it's the Bureau's standardized performance monitoring results framework. If you're new to mode, we recommend checking out the MELI unit's website, which we'll have a link for you later, for more information on exactly what this is and how it's implemented. RPM stands for the Results Performance Monitoring Module. This is a separate module in MyGrants that's used to report on performance monitoring data. Data collected as part of mode are reported into the RPM performance report. See that there, which is different from the PPR or performance progress report that you use to report to your program officer or GOR on overall progress for an award. The RPM report is only used to report mode data to MELI. So again, the RPM performance report does not replace the PPR. So you should confirm with your ECA program officer or GOR if you aren't sure whether you need to submit a PPR for any given reporting period. All right, so the veterans who decided to just take a little snooze there, you can come back to us. And we're going to go through a quick reminder of the mode reporting requirements for this reporting period. All right, so the things that have not changed at all are the who, what, when of mode reporting. So you can see, starting with the who, this includes any ECA implementing partner that has an active ECA award that includes mode requirements. So if you have an active award with mode requirements, you will need to submit a mode report regardless of whether you have data for this reporting period or not. This is also true even if you have multiple awards for the same program. You must report on each active award for each reporting period. If you're unsure if your award includes mode requirements, or if you're not sure if you are due a report this reporting period, because some programs or some awards rather are annual, some report semi-annually, then you can check with your program officer or GOR. All right, so the what. So this October, implementing partners should report on any mode data collected from participants that completed an ECA program during the reporting period, which is any time between April 1st of 2025 and September 30th, 2025. So if no participants completed the program during that reporting period, you'll basically just submit a mode report stating that, and we'll get into that a little bit more as well. How? So required mode data and reports should be submitted through the MyGrants RPM module using the RPM performance report. Again, we'll get into those details in a minute. And the when, the scariest day of the year, when is it due? The scariest day of the year is reporting day, not Halloween, but they do happen to correspond this year. So October 31st is when all of mode reporting is due. All right, so different reporting scenarios. So there are 3 possible scenarios depending on the activity that took place under your awards and also your data collection method. So first I'll go over the requirements for each of these scenarios, and then we'll go over the sort of technical navigation in migrants. And before I get into the requirements for each scenario, I just want to draw your attention to some of these wonderful resources that we have to help guide you through this process. We have the Mode Resource Guide, which is relatively new. We started this maybe the beginning of the year or the end of last year. I can't remember exactly, but this is a one-stop shop for all of your mode knowledge. Everything you will need to do mode at any stage of the process is in this resource guide. And these reporting checklists in particular are a great place to start your reporting for the period. I highly recommend you look at these first. They include links to video tutorials, required documents, and other resources. And you can use the QR code, you can click the URL on your screen, and Stacy has also thrown that in the chat for us. Okay, so starting with no data to report, this is the same process regardless of your data collection method. So folks who have used their own platform for their surveys or who have used our Mode Survey Builder, you'll be doing the same thing. So there may be some implementing partners who did not have any participants actually on program who completed their program between April 1st and September 30th. So in this situation, a migrant's RPM performance report should still be submitted, but you're going to navigate to the performance report, complete the narrative section of the report with the statement, no participants completed the program during the reporting period, and then submit. You only need to write that statement just once in the narrative section. You don't have to write it like for each indicator. You don't have to include any details like anything that would normally go in your PPR or anything like that. So no extra work there on your part, just no data to report or no participants completed the program. And that's easy. So for folks who have used their own survey platform and have data to report, this is the steps that we're going to follow. These are the steps that we're going to follow. English is tough for me today, apparently. So you're going to complete and attach your raw data submission template. And in Migrant's RPM performance report, you're going to go into each indicator and enter your data. And then under the overall assessment of the project, select the appropriate response. Usually this is on track, but whatever the case may be, under anticipated results, and select NA for work plan. Then you can go ahead and submit. And again, there's lots and lots of videos and guidance in the resource guide on how to do this step by step. So if you've already, or actually, let me step back a second. So this again is kind of a holdover from April. The raw data submission template that is currently on our website that's available to you has been updated to remove these items that we spoke about earlier. So as long as you're using the current raw data submission template, you don't need to worry about any of this. But if for some reason you still have one of the older ones, or if you collected your data before all of these changes were made and you just happen to have this data, you might find, well, where am I supposed to put it? Don't worry about it. You don't need to report this at all. If you have an older template, just leave it blank. Or the best thing you can do is just get a new template. So you don't need to worry about these items. And it's the same with this administrative indicator 6.1.02. This never showed up on the raw data submission template, so you don't need to worry about that. It should no longer show up on migrants either. But if for some reason you happen to find it there, just leave it blank. And if you already have this data, just hold on to it. We don't need you to report that. Okay, so as we mentioned, the process is a little bit different for partners who collected their data using a Mode Survey Builder generated survey. Since your data was automatically sent to ECA through Qualtrics, you don't need to worry about the raw data submission template. All you're going to need to do is attach the report that Qualtrics automatically generates for you to the same place where you would attach any other documents for your performance report. So just go on. We'll show you in a minute, how to go about downloading that, and you're going to pull that out of Qualtrics and add it to your RPM performance report. And then you do the same other minor steps here on the slide and submit. Now, again, this should only be the case for older surveys that were generated before all these changes took place. So depending on when you generated your survey, your report may or may not look like this. So please check your report before submitting. If the report has gender data instead of biological sex data, you'll need to make this edit. And then again, for future reporting periods, just make sure you generate a new survey that will show the correct demographics. So to remove the gender data, you're going to scroll down in the Qualtrics report to the demographics section, click on the gender data visualization to select it, and then click options and then remove. See that here. So this is a good time to throw a little plug in here again for the survey builder. I'm sure some of you may think I sound like a broken record because I plug this as often as possible, but it's because I love you. For those who are still trying to think about what you want to do, if you want to use the survey builder or not, I think you should. And I'm sure there are some folks here on the call with you who would agree. And I'm just going to show you again, before the survey builder, implementing partners have to go through all these steps. But those of you who are using the survey builder know that you get to skip a whole bunch of these steps. And your data just automatically gets fed into our master dashboard, which eliminates the need for you to use the raw data submission template, and makes your reporting in the RPM performance report in my grants a lot quicker and easier. If you want to learn more, if you haven't already listened to our presentations on this before, you can watch our August 2024 Community of Practice session recording, which Stacy has just dropped in the chat, and that'll tell you all about it. All right, so these are some common issues that we run into or that we see folks running into with the raw data submission template. So we're going to get into that. All right, so the first thing is not completing the instruction tab. The thing about Excel that a lot of people don't realize is that you often can't see how things are connected because they're sort of hidden in the code behind the scenes. But more often than not, something that seems like it's not really important actually has a secret sort of connection to something else that is important. And that's the case with the instructions tab. If this tab is left blank, it messes with some of the necessary calculations that are happening behind the scenes. So your much beloved MELI team will have to fix it before we can fully process your data. So I told you earlier that I love you and I know you love us. So please try not to make us do this. Hopefully it's pretty quick and easy for you to complete the instruction tab, and that will prevent any issues for us down the line. So yeah, simple solution, complete the instructions tab, easy enough. And also as a bonus, there is one field on there that you can leave blank, and that's mostly because you can't click it. It's grayed out, you'll notice. The ECA designation field can be left blank. That one we will fill in for you. All right, so depending on the survey platform your organization uses, the exported data for multi-choice questions like this one may be output this way with all of the selected responses together in one column. But for our data analysis process, we need these to be separated out so that there's only one choice in each column. So in this case, this column should reflect leadership skills, I believe. It shouldn't have any other items in there. This is a trickier scenario, requiring just slightly more effort on your part, but we have built you a lovely tool that you can use to fix this issue. It's the multi-choice divider. It's a separate spreadsheet that you can, paste that column in there, and it will separate everything out for you. There's a direct link on the screen there to that tool. Stacy also put that in the chat. Okay, so here's a scenario we occasionally see from folks who work with surveys and survey data, somewhat regularly. Every now and again, we receive coded responses like this. So you can see here that each item on the scale was assigned a number. So strongly disagree would be 1, strongly agree would be 5, and the others are in the middle. So the solution is basically just stop that. Stop being so good and so fancy with your statistical data. Like I said, this is a common practice among monitoring and evaluation folks. It's not a bad thing, but most lay folks won't do that. Most folks who don't work with a lot of data, wouldn't think to do that. So for the sake of consistency and just ease of data cleaning, we'd really appreciate if you would stick with the responses as they're written in the peers or the indicator book, exactly as they're written. Spaces, folks, Excel and spaces. It's literally the bane of our existence. So computers are super literal. They don't understand nuance in the same way humans do, although they're getting closer, for better or for worse. But when we read these as humans, we can see that United States and Minnesota in the first and second rows mean the same thing, right? They both look the same to our eyes. But Excel is reading them as different responses because there's a super sneaky invisible space after the word states and after Minnesota in the second row. So it's seeing those as two completely different things. What's even worse is when there are secret spaces in what appear to be blank cells. That does happen. These spaces are read by the computer as data, and then it throws all the calculations off pretty tremendously. So how can we even ascertain that this is happening? And to be fair, this is tricky, and we here at MELI would not hold it against you by any means if you didn't catch this. But here are some of the ways that you might be able to see it in action. Here you can see where I have it highlighted that United States is showing up twice in the country list here. Ooh, that is not a nice oval. It's the same country, it's spelled the same way, but it's showing up as two separate things. So at this point, you should be saying to yourself, there's probably a secret space in there. Go back to your to the raw data submission where you put all of your raw data and do a find and replace all. Find United States space, for example, and replace with just United States without a space at the end. And that might fix it. And you can come back here and check that. In the case of blank cells with spaces in them, that's a lot harder to catch. Generally, that is only caught when we see that the calculations are like crazy out of whack and we can't find any clear reason why. If you're running into this problem, you can go back into your raw data tab, just select all of the blank cells and hit the delete key on your keyboard. It has to be the delete key, not backspace. I am a Mac person outside of work. I know I don't have a delete key. I'm not exactly sure what the solution is for Mac. This just occurred to me. I can find that and try to share that with you, but in the meantime, those of you who use PC, you can use the delete key, not backspace. If this doesn't solve the problem, then certainly reach out to us and we can move on to other possible diagnostics to see what's going on. All right, so this one's pretty straightforward. I mentioned this a few times already. While we would love to be able to say that we get our formulas right all the time, that would be a lie. So we are often having to update our raw data submission template to fix formulas that are a little wonky when our lovely friends out there catch errors, and please do report those if you find any. Or of course, when we have to make changes for other reasons like we talked about earlier. A lot of times, irregularities in your calculations or things that just kind of look funny and aren't adding up can be resolved by just using the newest template. So make sure every time you're ready to start reporting, you're going to our website to download the newest template every single time. And there's a link there for you. And Stacy just put that in the chat as well. All right, so this is our last section of the common issues and their prevention. This is migrants specific. For starters, where do the RPM performance reports go? We sometimes see partners uploading them under the awards section where the PPR goes, but it should be under performance reports. Okay, so not under awards. Oh, yay, thank you, EB. Elizabeth has told us how to do delete on a Mac. Function, oh, awesome. Okay, thank you, EB. I'm going to remember that. All right, so here is the area where you would be submitting the raw data submission template. Please do not omit this. We see this a lot where partners sometimes forget to attach the data and then we just don't have your data. And of course, for those of you who are using Qualtrics, this is also where you would, or not just Qualtrics, sorry, the mode survey builder in Qualtrics. This is where you would upload your report in lieu of the raw data submission template. All right, so I touched on this a little bit earlier, but you can see all of these extra fields. The only time you need to enter any notes anywhere is if you're indicating no data to report in the executive summary section up here. MELI tells you every field you need to complete and what you need to put there. But the RPM performance report contains all these other fields because we aren't the only ones who are using migrants and the RPM performance reports. There are other bureaus and such that use this with different requirements. But unless MELI tells you to fill this in or fill something in, you don't have to. You can just save yourself a little bit of time there. All right, so fortunately, all of these tiny missteps all have a pretty simple solution. You can avoid doing all of these things by closely preparing all of the guidance closely reviewing all of the guidance that we've prepared for you. We really try our hardest to make sure that you all will have every advantage in completing this requirement and step-by-step guidance all throughout. So definitely do take advantage of the mode resource guide. And if any questions come up, if you need any help, of course, if you run into anything that you can't resolve using the resource guide, you can use our troubleshooter. You can also visit our website here for resources and information. So anything that you need help with, hopefully we've given you all of the tools to find that information. And we are always here to be of assistance to you. So thank you so much for watching. Now we are going to get into a little bit of a Q&A. So I'm going to stop recording so that we can all speak and we can all answer any questions that we need to. But again, feel free to throw those in the chat or raise your hand. I'm going to stop. I'll leave this up on the screen for a little bit in case folks need to get the links.